Hello and welcome. Today I'm going to do something a little bit different. Normally on this channel I've been doing tutorials about Cascador and DAZ Studio and some audio plugins along with a few other subjects. But today I'm going to talk about Carveco Maker. Now this program is basically used with the CNC machine, which is a machine that allows you to carve reliefs or whatever have you, from wood or plastic. It's a very nice way of creating projects. But it can also be used in 3D printing. Now, I've been 3D printing for a little while now. It's another one of my hobbies, and I thought maybe it would be a good thing to address here, seeing though I've been using this program to create some of the models, and I like how it works. So, this is a subscription program. You would have to go to the site and sign up for a subscription to use this application. So to begin with, once you get to the introductory screen here, you're going to hit on New Model, and the model I'm going to make is going to be 5 inches by 5 inches. So whatever you're using, you can adjust that accordingly. My picture's square that I'm using here, and what I'm going to show you is how you can use a picture in order to create a bas relief, which is a 3D relief that can be printed out by a 3D printer or a CNC machine, so on. So the resolution I have jacked all the way up here because I have a decent computer that can handle it, but you want to adjust this according to your computer and your graphics card. And as you use it, you'll see whether your system can handle it. So I hit OK, and it brings up this canvas. And this is the canvas you work on. It's going to be the size that you laid out in the prior screen. And the first thing I'm going to do is go up to where it says Relief, and I'm going to go to Import. And I'm going to import my picture. This is a picture I created with Stable Diffusion. And what's going to happen here is the picture is going to show up in inches, so it's going to be huge. So simply come up here and then bring it down to whatever your height is. And then on the Z range, you're going to want to put this down because otherwise it's going to be very deep. I usually use 030, works fairly good. So we hit apply, and your picture will disappear because it's way up in the corner here, but if you push F9 on the keyboard, you can see it'll bring it down to your canvas. So this is what the picture initially looks like. It isn't too bad. It doesn't have too much depth in it. If you hold down your middle mouse button and pan, you can look at it and see. And what you can do here is you can adjust height if you want, or you can just leave it the way it is and say, I think I'll just do that, and it'd just be a, like a little 3D relief on, on a picture frame or however you're going to do it. So I'm going to leave it at that, and once you have it pretty much where you want, if you press this button here, it will center it for you. Then you go down here and you press paste, and it will change to yellow, and now it can be worked with further if you want. So one of the first things I usually do is I want to make sure that my height is proper. So if I want to adjust that, I can go up here to Scale Relief. I press that and a little arrow will appear here. And then I can go either bring it way out, which I wouldn't do, or I can even push it back a little, which to me seems a little bit better. And so say if I leave it about like that, and I decide that. So if I hit apply, it will apply it, and it's going to look weird at first, but you just close this up and it'll go back. So now we have a little bit of 3D relief to it. Now the other thing you want to do with the 3D printer is you want to smooth this thing out, because with the 3D printer all this stuff will just take forever to print, all this detail. So if you come up here, there's a smooth relief button right here. Click on that, and then you can adjust over here the strength of smooth. So I usually start out by going up to 50 and see where that looks, somewhere around 50. You let go of it, and now it's going to show you what it's going to look like. And you can see how it smoothed that whole thing right out, is what it did. So if I'm not, say if I think, well, you know what, I'd still like to get a little bit more of this rough out. Now you do want to leave some of it in, because you do want to, have perspective here, and that's how you create it. If anybody watching this is an artist, they know that. So I think probably that will be good. So I'm going to leave it at that for now. I hit apply, and it will apply it. So you can see it took some of that roughness out in certain places. It left it more in the front, because the closer you are to the front of the picture, well, you want darkness, and that's what creates perspective. Further back you are, the lighter it's going to be. So you've already hit apply. So now you can close that, and now you have your 3D relief. Okay. Now normally with these types of reliefs, when you go to export this, you got to choose a certain way to do it. So once you're here, just go to relief again and go down to create triangle mesh. And this is what's going to create your mesh that you can use. And I'm going to take it in the blender and just do something to it that you're probably going to find you're going to need to do. Now normally if it's just a portrait or something, you can use close with flat plane, but I don't normally use that for several reasons, because the plane that it closes with is just, it drifts. It's not really a complete close. So, and if you try it, you'll see what I mean. And I usually have the tolerance down to this 0.0001, because that makes a finer detail in it. So I leave it on open mesh and I hit create. And what this is going to do is create our 3D model that we can export. It's going to turn blue. That tells you that it's ready to export it. Okay. And then you can just hit save. You want to do this before you go close. If you close this, then you'll have to do the whole process again, but no big deal, but just an extra step. So I hit save here, and I'm going to save this to the desktop. I have a little area here. I'm going to call that Lighthouse, and we'll just save that. And I'm saving it as an OBJ because I'm going to work with it in Blender a little bit just to make it better for 3D printing. So once you do that, you can either close this and minimize it, and I have Blender here. Bring this up, and so I'm going to go to Blender, and I'm going to import OBJ, and I'm going to go to my desktop, and I got my little, and I'm just going to take this and import it, and that will bring it in. It takes a second, and this is what it looks like now. Okay, but so you have this open in the back, and if you try to 3D print that, you're gonna have to put supports under it and all that, but we can take care of that simply by creating we can extrude the edges. And the way that we do that is we go up and we go to edit mode, and then what we're going to do is go to select all, and then you go to select loops, and you're going to select the boundary loop. Okay, and that's just going to select the outer edge of it. And then what you want to do is hit E on the keyboard, and you're going to see your cursor change. And then you use your left arrow button and just hit that a few times, and that will extrude that. Do you think you have a close enough edge there? Okay, I say that's good enough right there. Then don't touch your mouse or anything, because this will go all haywire. Just hit enter on the keyboard, and then that will lock that in. And once you see your cursor change back, now if you hold your middle mouse button, you're going to see that you have this border with a backing. So if you push F on the keyboard, as in Frank, that will fill that back in for you, like that. So you do have some rough edges here, but what you can do, now that you've got that, you have at least something a little bit easier to print with. So you go back and choose object mode, and you're going to see this is your piece that you can print. Okay. What you're going to do in here is just export this as an STL. Okay. And you find where you're going to put it. I'll put it on the desktop, and I will put it right back in here, and we will call that Lighthouse, and it will be an STL, and then you can export it. And now you have your STL, and if you're familiar with 3D printers, then you're going to know that there's a number of slicers out there you can use. I use Prusa slicer. I think that's how it's pronounced. And when I bring that up, now I can go to my desktop folder. Let's just quickly find that. We can close this. We don't need that anymore. And we'll go to here. And we'll bring up our slicer. And we'll just drag our Lighthouse STL right here in. And that's going to load it in. It's going to ask you this question. Just hit yes. And there it is. And there is your printable STL. Now, one thing that I notice here is all this roughness on the back. And I'm just going to quickly show you how you can rid yourself of that problem. Okay. At -90 here. Okay. And you can just take this and bring it like this. Okay. And then you come over to cut. And once this little thing turns like a yellow ball, whoops, you can bring that down. And what I usually do is just slice a little bit off the back of it. That's why I make it extra thick. Go over here and uncheck B and hit perform cut. And what that will do is that will slice that back so it's nice and even. And the way that you can see that is just, if you're using your left mouse button, you can do your orbit type thing. So now we have ourselves a good little thing, a good little plaque or whatever, just a piece that we can print up on the 3D printer. And as you can see, I mean, it looks like a pretty good little project to me. So anyway, that's how you do it. If you are into 3D printing, I would suggest looking at Carveco. You can take any picture you want and you can create yourself this type of thing, this type of 3D print You'd be amazed. You can take pictures of people and do it. I've done it with a number of things. And as you know, as you saw, this was just a plain old picture that I had generated through Stable Diffusion. So I hope you got something out of this, and if you did, I would appreciate a like or a subscription would be good. Besides that, I will say I will see you next time.